Hey everybody, welcome to the Cardboard Cave. We're here to do an unboxing for a package I just received here in the last hour from Kickstarter or GameFound. Actually, I don't remember which one it was. But it's been something I've been anticipating for a while, and I was very glad to get my shipping notification. There's actually two games in here. One is the main game I ordered, and the other is sort of an extra. Let's see. Let's do the extra first. Although I'm sure I've already shown you what this is in the video. But this is Botswana from Dr. Rainer Knizia. These are both Dr. Knizia games. Now, Botswana is a brand new reprint. Just came out from 25th Century Games. You should be able to order it wherever you order games, or it should at least be up for pre-order. Because obviously Kickstarter backers are getting ours now. But I technically already own this game in a very cheap, very small version called Loco. This is the same game as Loco, and I believe it goes from other names as well. But unless they change something in this edition, and I don't know that for sure, it is literally as simple as what I'm about to tell you. You remove a certain number of cards based on the player count, but other than that, literally, you deal out all the cards to all the players, secretly removing a few based on player count. And you make piles of chips in the 5 different colors. Now it's simply piles of animals. Elephants, lions, I guess it's meerkats, hippos, giraffes. I think that's all. 5 different stacks of chips, or in this case, animals. And on your turn, you simply play a card underneath any color chip, or in this case, animals. So, and I believe it goes from 0 to 5 in each number. So there's 6 cards in each number. And it can go in any order. So like I could play on the meerkat, maybe I have a 2. I play that card on top of that stack. And then I take a chip of any color. So an animal of any color from any stack. It doesn't have to be the one I just played on. The game ends when the 6th card, and again, they go from 0 to 5 in value. When the 6th card is played on any stack, the game ends. And then you score all the stacks based on the last card played. So if the last card played was a 0, because again, they can be played in any order on the stack. If the last played card was a 0 when the game ended immediately, that color is going to score 0. So drafts would score 0 if that was the case. And you're going to get points based on all the tokens you've collected. So it's a very light game, and it's one of those games, somebody described it as a painfully simple Dr. Knizia game, but they don't mean that in a bad way. They mean it's so simple. A, you're like, why didn't I think of this? And B, when you first play it, you're like, is this all there is? Is there even a game here? Is this not just an activity? But then you play it, and you play it again, and you play it again, and you start to get it. Like, yeah, it's a clever little game. It's that simple, though. The only information you have for sure are the cards in your hand. But all the cards are dealt out, besides perhaps a few secret ones set down. So there's a little bit of bluffing, maybe, because maybe you play a high number on the elephant, you know, making people think, ooh, the elephant chips could be worth something. But maybe in your hand you have the 0 on the elephant, and your plan is to go back and cancel it out and make that color worth nothing. At the same time, if the game ends, because people really pile up on one number, it can end super quick. I mean, it says 20 to 30 minutes. But if people pile up on one number, there's no reason it can't, or sorry, one color, one type of animal. It could end super quick. So you may not have a chance to go back and change a value the way you want to. But there's obviously a huge unknown element. You don't know what everybody else has in their hands. So it is very light. It is super light. Like, it's not, let me put it this way. This is probably very overproduced for this game. The little game I had is called Loco. It had, honestly, flimsy cards that were just basic colors and numbers. And it had basic tiny poker chips, like tiny lightweight poker chips. And it was in a cheap, flimsy box. That was it. That's the whole game. Yet I still have it in my collection because it is a fun little game that could be taught in 30 seconds. This was $20, I think, when I got it on the Kickstarter. Honestly, it might be even less. If you buy it online, I'm not sure. For $20 or less, I think it's worth it to have a really pretty, nice looking copy of Loco or Botswana or whatever it's called. It's now called Botswana. That's the most recent version. We'll open that up, but let's get out the other game first, because this is actually the game I ordered. The main game I ordered, I should say. And it is Dr. Kenichi's masterpiece. Checking for damage because my box was a little beat up, but it looks like the game itself is okay. Raw. This is the Pharaoh edition of Raw. So Raw is a game that I absolutely just love so much that it has risen to one of my absolute top favorite games of all time. And the first time they did the Pharaoh edition, I'm like, you know what? I love Raw, but it's just not needed because the base game, the reprint they did, is so nice. And I've unboxed it on this channel, and I've compared it to my old Uber Play edition. So check out that video if you want to. But the version that came out is so nice, and it is. I've not changed my mind on that. I'm like, I don't need this edition. But then I started playing Raw more and more and more, and introducing it to my brother and sister-in-law who bought their own copy. And we played it more. And then I took it on little guys, for my 40th birthday, actually. Little guys trip. And the three of us played it several times. And I'm like, okay, Raw is officially one of my favorite games of all time. I kind of do feel like I should own the nicest version of it. That is not something I need to do for every game. But for Raw, I kind of feel like maybe I should own the nicest version of it. So here we are. But do not pay crazy money for this. It sold for like 90 bucks plus shipping, so really about $100 is what it sold for on the Kickstarter or GameFound, whichever it was. I can't even remember. It might have been GameFound, honestly. It sold for about $100 including shipping, which is not cheap, but the components, I think, kind of justify the cost. It's a heavy game. There's a lot packed in here. But don't go paying hundreds of dollars for it on the aftermarket. I almost guarantee this will get another crowdfunding release. It might be another 6 months, it might even be a year, but I think it'll happen. And the good news is, go back and watch my video. Go back and watch my video for Raw, because the edition, which looks very similar to this, just with more chunky cardboard instead of wood, basically, is super nice and is a bargain for the roughly $40 that it sells for. An absolute bargain. And is 100% identical gameplay to this. So if you can't find this for around $100, which is what it was meant to sell for, 90 to $100, don't go paying crazy prices. Just get the $35 to $45 version, the regular version, in other words. That's what you need to do. That being said, let's just go ahead. Do we want to do this separately? Let's do this as its own video. We'll just unbox Raw for now. If I can get into it. So Raw, if you don't know, is an auction bidding game. And I'm not someone who has a lot of auction bidding games. I tend to enjoy them a fair bit. Not all of them, but a lot of them. But like my wife, for example, I don't think really cares for them all that much. But she also loves Raw. Maybe not quite to the level I do, but pretty close. Like, she legitimately loves Raw. So it is not, do not be scared away when I say it's an auction bidding game, because it is a different kind of auction bidding game. It is a brilliant game first, and an auction game second. Like, the game mechanisms are just so smooth, and I don't use this word often, but elegant. So elegant. So well done. And again, the regular inexpensive version is extremely nice. And if this weren't just a game that to me has stood the test of time, I mean, my goodness, I've had that original edition of Raw. It looks good on all sides here, but I think the box looks identical to the other new version that came out. It's just fatter. It's just fatter here. I'll measure it for you right quick. But to me, it stood the test of time. I've had my original edition of Raw for, oh gosh, over 20 years. The Uber Play edition. And honestly, I regret selling it just for the nostalgia. The new edition is better in literally every single way. Literally every way the new edition is better. I just regret selling my Uber Play edition because of the nostalgia. But that's okay. I now have this edition. And let's see here. Oh, here we go. So the box is very like standard sized raw box. Except for the thickness is just thicker to accommodate the more stuff. So it's like barely over 10 inches by 8.5 inches. And then the depth is where it does, is 4.5 inches deep, which is deeper than like the other editions of Raw. Let's just open the box here. It is a 2 to 5 player game. It is brilliant with 3 to 5. I think it shines with 3 and 4. It's just a perfect game to me, but still it's almost as good with 5. Like it's absolutely, I won't turn down a game of Raw with 5 players. Very good. I think 3 and 4 is the sweet spot, but 5 is still excellent. It has been a long time since I played a 2-player game of Raw. Honestly, I think it's probably worth it because it's just such a good game. But I do know it's considered not as strong with 2 players. Unfortunately, you know, but the fact that it works at all with 2 players, considering it is an auction game, is pretty impressive. So I'm pretty sure this is the exact same rule book. I say pretty sure because I did, in preparation for getting this, I did trade away my copy of the 25th century new edition of Raw because I knew I was getting this. And my collection is too limited that even for one of my absolute favorite games, I can't be having multiple copies of the same game. But I've been impatiently waiting for this because like I really should have waited to sell my copy of Raw until this came. That was dumb. But luckily, like I said, I've talked other people into buying it by just playing my copies, so it really wasn't so bad. But you got auction tiles, which is the bulk of the game here. And this is really the bulk of the expense and the changes of this compared to the regular edition. Because all the art is there. All the art is the same. The main board, I believe, is going to be completely identical. The big difference is these were nice, thick, chunky cardboard tiles in the regular version of Raw. And in the old version I had, they were also cardboard tiles. Now they're going to be wooden with paint. That's the big difference there. Also, the coins were really pretty cardboard coins. Now they're going to be metal. Honestly, I think that's the 2 differences. I think that's pretty much it. So it's not like a blingy, like adds a bunch of unnecessary fluff. It is just you're paying for wood and metal. And so it is like the definition of deluxeified to me, because you're just taking the exact same game and making the things out of premium materials. You know, that's really the difference. So when I say you don't need this edition, I mean it. I'm just saying I got it because it is literally in my top 3 favorite games. If you ask me on any given day, it might be my number 1 favorite game. That's how much I just have a smile on my face every time I play this game, and I never get tired of it. Anyways, let's see, 25 civilization tiles, 40 monuments. So I'm trying to figure out how many tiles it is altogether. So that's 65. 30 of raw tiles. That's 95, 100, 108. Oh goodness, 110, 135, 160, 172, 174. If I did my math right, it's 174 tiles. So you're getting a lot of wood in the box. Not to mention 40, 65, 80 coins. So there's also a couple boards and some other wooden components. So you got 1 page of setup. You got 1, 2, 3 pages of actually how to play the game. It is really quite a simple game. And then they give you a nice double-page spread of scoring, which once you've done this a couple of times, you're going to be good to go because it's actually printed on the board very nicely on your player board. But they do give you a nice 2-page spread showing exactly how the scoring works. And a quick reference on the back, basically telling you how a turn works. You draw a tile. If it's not a raw tile, you add it to the auction track. If it is a raw tile, you move the sun boat and start an auction. But instead of drawing a tile, you can choose to invoke raw instead. And that means you're calling an auction. And if you call an auction, you have to bid. If an auction just happens because you drew a raw tile out of the bag, technically nobody has to bid. It could just keep going. And your third choice for a turn is to spend a god tile, if you have one, to simply steal a tile directly from the auction track. So you're not calling an auction, you're just getting rid of your god tile and you're taking auction tiles from the track. You can do one for each god tile you have. That's very rare. 90% of the time I would say you're just drawing a tile. Maybe, I mean, depends on the game, but maybe 10% of the time you're invoking raw, and that's pretty much it. And the auctions are so simple. So you can pass or you can increase the bid. Once you pass, that's it. It's if all players pass, all the tiles on the auction track remain unless the auction track is full. If it's full, then they're discarded. But of course, if you invoke raw, you do have to bid if everybody else passes. Only if everybody else passes. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like if you choose not to increase the bid, then you pass and you're out of that round. Like they're super quick auctions. Ooh, okay. I think this is a lot bigger. And it needs to be because they're wooden tiles. They're going to take up a lot more room. I think I need to back out here a little bit. This is the auction bag. Very nice. But you do get one in the basic game. I don't think it was quite this big. But again, it didn't really have to be because they weren't wooden tiles. Yeah, this is a nice big bag. If you have the standard version at home, you can see right now if it's big. Because this is basically, well, sorry, bumping the camera. Oh, I don't know, roughly 11 inches. So yeah, by roughly 10 inches. And then this bag, what is this? The tablet bag. Okay, this is new. This is for the money. I don't think, it's not been that long ago I sold my 25th century copy, but I don't think it had anything for the money. Frankly, it's not strictly necessary, but that's nice. You got something for the money now. It did have an auction bag though. I just don't think it was that big. I don't think it was. And here we go. Lots of wooden tiles. Lots and lots of wooden tiles. This is what you're paying for, really. And here's the thing. There's no fancy insert in this game, and I'm okay with it. We'll get the rest out in a minute. This is all the tiles, I think. There's no fancy insert in this game, because what you're going to do, you're going to put all the tiles together and put them in this big bag. And hopefully they'll all fit in this big bag. And then you're going to try to get it all in this box, and let me go and tell you, it's probably going to be a tight fit. In fact, I'm starting to question myself. Is this thicker? Is this a thicker box than the regular edition? Now I'm starting to wonder. Because it needs to be, because the regular edition was already a tight fit. Comment below. I gave you the measurements earlier. I'll give them again. 4.5 inches. Is the regular 25th century version of Raw 4.5 inches or less? I thought this one was bigger, but now I'm starting to wonder. Anyways, here's the wooden tiles. There's so many of them. Here's the raw tiles. They do look virtually identical to the standard edition. They're just wood now. Though, to be honest, I mean, just like the cardboard ones could eventually start wearing out if you play the game many times. At that point, if you got that many plays out of a game, honestly, it's worth just rebuying it. Truth be told, this wood should never wear out, but the screen printing could rub off of the wood. So it's not like this version can't ever wear out. So again, you don't really need this version. It's just nice. You know, it's going to be nice to clap these wooden tiles together. But truth be told, it's not like it's impervious to time. This paint could still rub off. And it makes me wonder, like, if you could just spread all these tiles out nice and evenly on a big sheet of cardboard or something and spray them with like a clear coat. I don't know what. An acrylic clear coat. No amount I could end up ruining them and they would just stick together and be ruined. So probably not something I'm going to do, but I wonder if people have tried something like that. So what is it? 30 raw tiles, which can be a worst enemy. It looks like they separated these by type, so let's just pull out a few of these. Oh, here's the god tiles. So these are all the same. Like, they're all the same. This is, if you get a god tile, it's a very powerful tile. It's worth, what is it, 2 points? I think that's right. Well, It's worth a couple points if you don't use it at the end of a round, but you're probably going to want to use it to swap out for a tile on the auction track, because that's the only way to snag a tile from the auction track without having an auction. So you got a handful of those. Oh, disasters, the dreaded disasters. There's different disasters, and they basically knock out different things. I should have pulled out one of the boards. But, so basically this would be civilizations. Each one of these disaster tiles is going to kill off 2 of your civilization tiles if you win the auction. So there could be just some great tiles coming out and you're ready to start an auction because it looks perfect. And then these start coming out and it kind of spoils the pot. But it's interesting because maybe it spoils the pot for you, but now I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to start an auction because now the value of this has gone way down. And maybe I don't have any civilization tiles anyways. So I'm like, that actually worked out in my favor because now I'm going to start the bid. You know, things aren't necessarily bad or good for everybody. It depends on what's happening at the table. This is such a player-driven game, and that's why it's so brilliant. The rules really are very simple. The most complex thing is just each type of tile does score differently, but the rules are so simple. And so the real player interaction can come through. But it's not, it is such an interactive game, but it's not a mean game. It's just, it's all about the players, but it's not because it's mean. It's just how the game works. So these are the droughts. These are just like the earthquake tiles I just showed you. Except these dry up rivers and flood tiles, which are other tiles you want to score with. Here's the same thing, except this is for the pharaohs. This kills off pharaoh tiles. And then finally, here's the one. No, this is actually earthquake. I guess this one, I think that's famine is what they call it, but it doesn't matter. This is the one that kills off monuments. It's earthquakes, basically. So each one of these kills 2 monuments. So there's disaster tiles for basically just about every kind of good tile in the game. So they can spoil the pot, but there's not that many of them. So when they come out, it can be really like, oh no. And I'm not going to show you necessarily every type of tile, but probably most of them. Here is, oh, the Pharaoh. And this is this type of tile basically scores based on majority. So if you have the most at the end of a round, you get points. And if you have the least, you lose points. So it's kind of a race to get these every round. Certain tiles, if you've not played the game, go away at the end of every round, or they call it epoch. There's 3 epochs in the game. But other tiles, like the monuments, stay for the whole game. So that is definitely something to keep in mind when you're bidding for things. Oh, here's a bunch of different kinds of tiles. Let's just pick one. There's lots of different kinds of monuments. I think it's, what, 7, if I'm not mistaken. We'll just show you, well, here's one kind. Try to get some light on it to show you, like, the level of shine. Like, they're not particularly shiny, but it's a good color. It's a good, rich color. And the backs, of course. As far as the thickness, they're certainly thicker than the cardboard tiles, though not that much thicker. The cardboard tiles were very thick. Honestly, they were about this thick. For a regular edition, again, I think I paid $35 for a regular edition of Raw. For $35, for $40, the regular edition of Raw that is available now, wherever you get games, is a bargain. And you need to get it if you don't have it. I would say unless you never play games with 3, 4, or 5 players, you absolutely need to get it. I would be tempted to get it for the regular edition price of $40 or so. I would be tempted to get it even just for 2 players. But certainly if you play with 3 to 5 players. And there's just a bunch of different monuments. I'm not going to go through all of them. There's a lot of different ones. Even more in here. In fact, these are all going to be different kinds of monuments. This whole bag is, I believe. Well, that one's kind of covered up, but there's pyramids. I kind of like that they separated them so I can count and make sure I got everything before I mix it all together in a huge bag. Ah. There's a Sphinx right there. So what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I got 8 bags here. Is it 8 different kinds of monuments? Whatever it is, 7 or 8. I got a terrible memory. I just love the game. I didn't say I remember everything about it. Just build those out. Let's see here. What we got here is, looks like rivers and floods. So the rivers and floods are interesting. These will be the floods, and you have to have at least one flood for all your rivers to score. The thing is, the river, it represents the Nile, so it sticks around for the whole game. But the floods dry up at the end of every epoch. So it's, you know what? That's another thing I like about this game. Dr. Kanichia is not known for his theme in games. He really isn't. But this is one where the thing does make sense, and I really respect that. And it does add to the enjoyment. Dare I say, it even makes it a little bit easier to learn. It's like it makes sense that the floods would go away at the end of every round because it represents, you know, an epoch. But then the river is going to stay because it's the Nile River. It doesn't just dry up completely, you know. So there's the Nile tiles, and they stick around. I really do like the art too. Like, it's not maybe traditionally luscious, beautiful art, but it fits the Egyptian theme so well, and it's colorful. Really do like the art. I like the art in my old Uberplay edition too, but I think almost objectively, if you could be objective about game art, almost objectively this is probably better. But I'm being honest, I did like the original art too. Let's see. And here we got lots of different kinds of civilizations. Well, here's the money. Gold. Simply worth 3 points. You don't use gold in the game. It just represents 3 points, basically. The game's all about points. And then we got several different kinds of civilizations. I'm not going to get them all out, but there's multiple different ones. Civilization tiles. Okay, what else is in the box? Well, this might look like a deluxe component. These are very important. These are your bidding tiles. They're called sun tokens. They're actually what you bid with. It's what you play the game with. But the thing is, in the regular, roughly $40 version, I feel like a broken record, they are this nice. They are identical to these. Nice, thick, wooden bidding tokens. 100% identical to the regular, basic game. So you're going to get those whether you get this nice edition or the regular edition, which is also a nice edition. And believe it or not, you might think I'm lying if you've not played the game before, but this is also identical. This chunky raw token, unnecessarily chunky but awesome, is also exactly identical to the base game. This is not a deluxe component. That might sound crazy, but it's not. And let me tell you, it is bigger than it needs to be, but it's so satisfying. Because maybe if people are like, okay, go and draw your tile, and you're like, nope, I invoke raw. And it's just so satisfying, especially on a wooden table. It's not that, doesn't make such a loud noise on this mat, but yeah, that is the same as you get in the regular edition of the game. And it's great. Let's see, you got some baggies here. This is basically the round marker. Again, that's identical to the basic game. I'm going to go and get these out because they're going to be identical to the basic game. And there's one more element that is not the same as the basic game. This, though, is identical. I believe it's just called the Sunboat. That is identical to the basic game. The basic game feels like a sort of deluxified game already. That's the thing. And all your boards are, again, going to be totally identical to the regular game. And these, I think, are maybe the biggest upgrade that the new edition of Raw made over the original edition that I had, at least. Because, well, the main board was actually a lot bigger in the original version, but this works very well. You keep track of the, basically of Raw's movement up here, and when it gets down to here, that ends the round. And let me tell you, that can be a very tense factor in the game. The current bid tile goes here, and so whatever you bid, you're not only winning whatever tiles are down here, because you're gonna, you know, if I can get one that's loose here. The tiles, well, here. The tiles just kind of fit in there. So you're not only bidding for all the tiles here, but you're bidding for the current bid token that was last used to bid with. So if it's like a 1 or a 2, that kind of lowers the value, because now you're going to have that token next round to bid with, because you only get to use each one once each round. So maybe you don't really love the tiles that are out here, but you invoke Ra anyways, because maybe the 13 tokens out here, which is a powerful bidding token. And so maybe you try to win the auction super cheap just to get the bidding token for next round, for the next epoch. But anyways, this isn't a rules teach. I need to quit yapping my flap. I can't help myself. It's just a great game. Then you got these. They're not identical. They're mostly identical. The only thing that's different is it tells you what bidding tokens you start with based on player count. So like if we were playing a 4-player game, let's see here. If we were playing a 4-player game, we would use this side of the board, and this person would get the 10 and the 9 and the 5 to start out with. And you only get 3 bid tokens per round. And so there's 5 boards because it's a 5-player game. So you just need to look for the correct side. Like in a 2-player game, for example, this side would be used. So yeah. But these boards are brilliant. And honestly, as nice as these other components are, this might be the nicest change from the old edition of Ra. Again, if you buy any current new version of Ra, you're getting these. You're absolutely getting these. They're totally identical. But my old 20 to 25-year-old version of Ra, however old Ra is at this point, it's got to be around 20 years old. It did not have anything like this. In fact, I printed out some things from Board Game Geek that people just made. But this not only tells you what tiles you start out with, it tells you how everything scores. Monument scoring, which I'm not going to go over. This is not a rules teach. Pharaoh scoring. River scoring. By the way, these are the 3 things that stick around. Oh, there you go. There's a little symbol to tell you these stick around forever. These go away at the end of every round. So this side sticks around. This side goes away at the end of every round. You got the God tiles that let you steal things from the board. You got the gold, which is just worth 3 per. You got the civilizations, which is based on how many you have. Like if you have none, you lose 5 points. If you got 3 that aren't the same, you gain 5 points. But just like 1 or 2 is nothing. So you want to have at least 1, but other than that, it really doesn't matter unless you get at least 3 different ones. Then 4 different ones, and 5 different ones will be huge, 15 points. That almost never happens. Then you got the floods. Like the rivers, they're simply worth a point apiece, but you have to have floods to score rivers, as this shows over here. All right, those are the boards, 100% identical to the regular base game. Here's the last thing in the box. Like I said, no insert. It's now an empty box except for that desiccant pack thing there. The last thing to talk about are the coins. Now, these are just cardboard in the normal edition of the game, but I will say, I know when they originally did this Kickstarter, they showed these and they were colorful metal coins. And then they realized, I guess it was too complex to make those. It didn't work out, which is unfortunate. Because these looked brilliant in color. They're not quite as nice now, but they are still very nice. I'm just trying to get out one of each, or at least a couple different ones. They're still very nice. But let me tell you, they were a lot nicer when they were in color. So if you get the original, cheaper version of this game, you actually are getting full color coins. They're just cardboard. In some ways, you might argue they're prettier. They're just not cool metal coins. Honestly, I would not have upgraded if this was the main change. I'd be like, nah, I'm cool. I'm fine with my coins. Actually, I say coins, they're points. They're just points tablets. There aren't coins in this game per se. It's just points. But here we go. Let's see. Got 1, 2, 5, and 10. They're just points. You just make change when you need to. That's all they are. But they do look really nice. They have a slightly weathered look to them to look kind of like legit currency, perhaps. The backside, though, is just like a, what is it, like a nickel or gunmetal color, whatever you call that. Still looks good, though. And actually, come to think of it, this needs to be how they are, because you need to be able to hide your points. Like, that's part of the game, is you can hide your points. So, yeah, this works very well. These feel really nice. Obviously, it's always fun doing this. with any kind of metal coins in the game. But again, they are just like golds slash, well, they'd be like, well, I guess gold really. Gold on one side and just kind of like a nickel color on the other side. So they're not super colorful like the cardboard ones. Though, if I'm being honest, if I had to pick one or the other and the price was the same, yeah, I would pick these. I'm just saying I personally would not have upgraded just for these. I don't think. But yeah, that's it. I've shown you at least examples of everything. There's tons of tiles in this game. Honestly, there's so much wood and then quite a hefty bit of metal here as well. That I'm not surprised. Like I said, it was 90 bucks plus $10 shipping. Actually, it was another $5 in tariff charges, which is incredibly frustrating, but you know, not their fault. So I'm not surprised by the price. I think that price makes sense. That being said, like I said, don't go crazy on the aftermarket. I do honestly believe it will happen again. I believe they'll do this again. I think it just makes sense that they will, because this is an evergreen game and it's been very popular. But I don't know that for sure. Like, I don't have any inside info. But I'm telling you now, this is nice. Everything I've shown you is nice. I mean, the amount of wood you get is definitely the real deal. But I don't think you need to go out and pay $200 for this, is what I'm saying. It was meant to sell for roughly 100 bucks. And I think that makes sense when I see the amount of stuff here. When I see the amount of wood, the amount of metal, and plus all the boards and stuff are still there as well. Like, the price makes sense to me. Because the only cardboard you have in the game now is just the boards. That's it. And making those out of wood would have been ridiculous. The boards is the only thing cardboard now. Everything else is wood or metal. So it is deluxe. Like, that is not a lie. I'm just telling you, don't have such a fear of missing out that you way overpay for this. Just make sure you have a copy of Raw. Because that's the thing. Because it is all the gameplay is there. And it's such a wonderful game. Thank you so much for checking out the Cardboard Cave. If you enjoyed any part of this, if you could hit the like button, I would really appreciate it. And we'll catch you next time on the Cardboard Cave.